A note to listeners. The following podcast contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences.
She started missing shortly after she had left, and I just got word about it, and then we moved. So then I didn't hear a lot until the detectives started coming to our house.
What did you think when the detectives were coming to your house?
As I remember it, I don't remember it. They didn't tell me right away that she had passed, but they just kept asking me questions. I remember there was a lot of questions. I remember and then they started bringing out jewelry, asking me if it was Jackie's, and torn clothing, asking me if it was Jackie's. Then they would show up with stacks of photographs for me to go through and see if I knew anybody in the pictures. And that's when they started telling me little by little that she had been found and that what happened to her. She got along with everybody. She was very easygoing, very soft-spoken. She loved music. The Rolling Stones was her favorite. She just wanted to be around happy. If there was people arguing or fighting, she never got involved. She was just a simple, fun person. She loved to take care of herself, and I mean that by every day she would take a shower. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was perfect. She was simple, though. It wasn't over-exaggerated. Everything about her was well put together.
So coming face to face with a serial killer after what you went through as a child, how did that feel?
Awful. The first time I came face to face, it was through glass, but he was in an area where I had to observe him because he had to use the phone, and that's where the phone was. And I was in a control room on the other side of the glass, and there was no film on the glass, so he could see clearly through the glass. And I had my head down looking at something because I didn't want him to look at me. So I felt if I wasn't looking at him, he wouldn't see me. And then I had to look to see if he was still on the phone. And when I looked up, he was leaning on the glass, just staring at me.
You are listening to Partners in True Crime. We are your hosts, Rob and Cindy Dorfman. Hi, everyone. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, even if it's one word.
And please subscribe to our website, www.partnersintruecrime. Follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram to check out our weekly promos. We're also now on YouTube at Partners in True Crime. If you subscribe to our website, you'll be getting weekly emails from us and all kinds of promotions and things that we don't advertise on the podcast.
On September 3rd, 1979, Bedecker and Norris observed two girls named Jackie Doris Gilliam, 15, and Jacqueline Leah Lamp, 13, sitting on a bus stop bench near Hermosa Beach. Lamp and Gilliam had been hitchhiking along Pacific Coast Highway before Bedecker and Norris observed them as they were resting at the bus stop. Bedecker and Norris offered the girls a ride, which Gilliam and Lamp accepted. Inside the van, both girls were offered marijuana by Norris, which they accepted.
Shortly after entering the van, both girls realized that Bedecker had steered the van off of Pacific Coast Highway and was driving in the direction of the San Gabriel Mountains. Lamp attempted to open the sliding door, whereupon Norris hit her on the back of the head with a bag filled with lead weights, briefly knocking her unconscious, before overpowering Gilliam. As he began to bind and gag Gilliam, Lamp regained consciousness and again attempted to flee the van, whereupon Norris twisted her arm behind her back and dragged her back into the van. As this struggle ensued, Bedecker, noting the girl's struggle was in full view of potential witnesses, stopped the van, punched Gilliam in the face, and assisted Norris in finishing binding and gagging the two girls. But who were Jackie Gilliam and Leah Lamp? Today we will be focusing on Jackie, and we have a childhood friend here to talk to us.
Kitty McDowell Van Dalen was a teenage girl who lived in the same complex as Jackie. Jackie loved Kitty's family and spent most of her time basically living with them up until the time of her murder.
We are very happy that Kitty is on today, who can talk about what Jackie was like and how this brutal crime of her dear friend has affected her life.
Today on the show, we have Kitty, who is Jackie Gilliam's best friend. And how the two of us met was when I got the police discovery. I got Kitty's name out of the discovery, and I started going through the databases to try to locate Kitty. And I think I found you. It was Facebook. Kitty, is that where I found you?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Laura, when you were reaching out to Kitty, what were you hoping to find?
I really wanted to know about who Jackie was as a person. I wanted to talk to all the victims' friends and families and just get an idea of who the girls were, to kind of bring the girls back to life, especially as we're looking for Cindy and Andrea. I think it's really important, to honor these girls and bring them back to life for people, in a sense, to help galvanize, people wanting to go look out for Cindy and Andrea.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Kitty, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and then kind of talk about your relationship with your friend?
About me now?
Yeah. Well, you can talk about where you're from originally, how you met Jackie.
I'm originally from Hollywood, but I had moved to the San Fernando Valley in my early teens. I met Jackie through my brother. Her and her mom and sister had moved into the apartment complex next to ours. And so my brother had met them and then took me over to meet them. And Jackie and I became friends pretty quick. She spent a lot of time at my house and we just became really good friends. We went to the beach every day in the summer and did what girls do. We talk about boys and just hung out a lot. She was a special person.
How old were you guys when you met?
I don't think we knew each other for very long. I think it was either 13 or I know I was 14 when I knew her, but I don't know if I met her before I had turned 14. So it wasn't that long of a time that we knew each other, but it felt like a lifetime.
Yeah, sometimes when you're that age and you meet someone that you click with, it feels like you've known them for a long time.
Absolutely. The apartment complex that I lived in, there was quite a few girls my age that lived there. We all are still friends today, and we talk about it, and it feels like we knew each other for so long, but it was only actually about a year and a half that we all lived there, and it just seemed like forever. And Jackie became like a part of that family.
I know this is painful to talk about, and we appreciate you talking to us about this, but we would just wanted to hear what happened and how you found out about it and how it affected you.
Jackie stayed at my house. She was probably at my house for 3 weeks or so. And then it was me and my mom, my brother and my sister. My mom was working 3 jobs. And she said that nicely that, because we loved Jackie, that Jackie couldn't live with us because it was a struggle for my mom and because it was a liability with my mom not being there a lot, that if something happened to Jackie, it could be my mom's fault. So I had talked to Jackie about it. Jackie understood. She liked the family feel. We all sat down for dinner at the same time every night. We talk about our days. We talk about what was going on in our lives. And Jackie felt like part of our family. When I talked to her about it and that she could come over every day, but she couldn't live with us, she understood and said she was going to go to Redondo Beach to visit her. She referred to Leah as her stepsister. The following week she was gone. She said that when she came back, we were going to hang out again. And the following week she was gone. And I don't know how I heard it that she was missing, but I do know that detectives started coming to my house a lot. We had moved. That's when I found out.
How long after the last time that you spoke to her did the detectives start coming around?
I don't know. That time frame is kind of fuzzy for me. I just know that we had moved. Oh, I don't even remember what month it was. I don't know. I don't know how long it was. It wasn't very, it was a couple months probably.
Do you remember how long she was missing?
I don't. I just know that she started missing shortly after she had left, and I just got word about it, and then we moved. So then I didn't hear a lot until the detectives started coming to our house.
What did you think when the detectives were coming to your house?
As I remember it, I don't remember it. They didn't tell me right away that she had passed, but they just kept asking me questions. I remember there was a lot of questions. I remember they would pull up on our driveway. My mom would put a pot of coffee on, knowing that they'd be there for a few hours. And then they started bringing out jewelry, asking me if it was Jackie's, and torn clothing, asking me if it was Jackie's. Then they would show up with stacks of photographs for me to go through and see if I knew anybody in the pictures. And that's when they started telling me little by little that she had been found and that what happened to her.
I'm so sorry. It's such a horrific thing to experience as a teenager. I can't even imagine.
What was your mother thinking at this point? I mean, she's, this is a dear friend of yours, and she's navigating these police investigations. What was she telling you, and what was the communication between both of you during this process?
My mom was devastated, both for me and for Jackie. She loved Jackie. She just wanted to be really supportive. She wanted me to tell them everything I could think of. It was really hard. It was difficult. My sister was there a lot to support me.
I'm so sorry.
And yet you still had to kind of live your life. I'm sure you were going to school at this time and through this process. How difficult was that?
It was really hard. I had moved to a new school. I never knew of Jackie going to school. That was something I thought of later and thought she didn't go to my school, and I'd never heard her talk about school. So I didn't know if her and her sister had taken the GED and were not going to school anymore. I guess I never gave it much thought. And then when I moved, I was going to a new school that was It was difficult. It was really hard. I just tried to go on. When it was all said and done, I didn't go to the trial. I didn't go to her funeral. I didn't even know when it was, I don't think.
When you realized what had happened to her, I can't even imagine what must have gone through your mind.
It was scary. It was awful.
Hey, Laura, can you provide us a little bit of like timeline context here as far as, and also a little bit more background on Jackie's home life? What was Jackie's home life like?
Yeah, Jackie's parents were divorced. She was living with her mother. She had an older sister, Linda, and it was that summer she was staying with Kitty. And she had went to go stay with her mom, a close friend of her mother's, in Redondo Beach, which was in the same apartment complex where Leah Lamp lived. That was the day they were taken.
So right after she went to the beach, that's when she was taken?
Yeah, she had just made it down to Redondo Beach. It was like, I believe, just a couple days after she reached Redondo Beach. Her and Leah were picked up by Bittaker and Norris.
And Leah was who she was calling her stepsister.
Yeah, I think so.
So with your experience interviewing Bittaker and Norris, Laura, did they give you any insight into why they chose these two girls or what had happened? Were they stalking them for a while? Was it an easy opportunity?
No, they were just victims of opportunity. They were sitting at a park bench in North Redondo, hitchhiking to the beach, and that's when they were picked up. And they made a wrong turn and started, saying, "Where are you going? Where are you going?" And that's when it was Norris picked up a sack, and he hit Leah over the head with it. She went down, and then he jumped on Jackie. As this commotion is happening, they're driving past Pollywalk Park in Manhattan Beach, and Leah regained consciousness and was able to get to the door and figure out the trick lock and jumped out in front of tennis courts where people were playing tennis and was screaming. And Roy shouted up to Bittaker, "She's getting out, she's getting away." And Bittaker stopped the car, jumped out, ran around the side and punched Leah in the face in front of all these people watching from the tennis courts, and threw her back in the van and turned to the tennis court and said, "She's having a bad acid trip. I'm just trying to get her home," and drove away.
Wow. So Kitty, how much, I'm sure you, in the beginning, you said you didn't go to the funeral, you didn't go to the trial. How much did you shield yourself and your mother shield yourself from all this information coming out?
I knew a lot of it from the detectives. They told me.
What did they tell you?
They told me that she had been stabbed in the ear with an ice pick, and that when he tried to pull it out, the handle came off.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
So by that time, so you weren't shielded at all. They told you pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So
I knew. They probably told me more than I should know at that age. I was always told that I was a lot older than my age, a lot more mature, so I guess I'm assuming they thought I could handle hearing that, and I did handle it. I guess I just shut it out for a lot of years after, but when it all got brought up is when I realized how much it affected my whole life.
yeah, I can imagine. So what do you think was the rationale for them to give you all that information? What were they trying to get from you?
I don't know. Could only tell them what I knew and what I had experienced with Jackie there and our friendship. But other than that, I didn't know anything else,
People hitchhiked all the time back then. It was a very normal way of life, especially in California.
On the beach.
On the beach. So it's not like she wouldn't have been hitchhiking. People did it all the time.
She didn't hitchhike a lot by herself, though, or with just one other person. We had only hitchhiked once, coming home from the beach. There was probably about 15 or 20 of us, I'm guessing, somewhere in there. We'd all been kicked off the bus because we took the bus to the beach every day, and we had the whole bus singing really loud, and so the bus driver pulled over and kicked us all off the bus, and some guy in a pickup truck picked us all up. So it wasn't just her and one person, it was a whole group of people, and there were guys and girls, so we were safe. But other than that, that was the only time I ever knew of her hitchhiking, and we were all, like I said, a big group.
Laura, was it shocking to you to hear that they had picked up two girls at the same time and that he actually spoke to witnesses? Had that ever happened before?
They had picked up two girls at different times. They would pick up pairs. They liked getting, just one alone if they could, because obviously that was easier for them to gain control over them. But they would pick up two girls. Jackie and Leah were pretty close to the beach and they were together, so that could have been a reason. Maybe they were hitchhiking. They thought they were in close proximity to where they had to go. It's two of them.
Not only that, Jackie was tiny. She was little. I don't know about Leah. I had never met her, but Jackie was little, so I'm sure they saw her and knew she couldn't defend herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about Jackie. Tell us what you know about her. Paint a picture for us on what kind of person she was, her personality, that kind of thing.
If you guys spoke about the future, what was her plan?
Jackie was just fun. She was always happy. I never saw her sad. I never saw her mad. She got along with everybody. She was very easygoing, very soft-spoken. She loved music. The Rolling Stones was her favorite. She just wanted to be around happy. She didn't, if there was people arguing or fighting, she never got involved. She was just a simple, fun person. She loved to take care of herself, and I mean that by like every day she would take a shower. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was perfect. She was simple, though. It wasn't like over-exaggerated. We were young, so she didn't wear a lot of makeup, but everything about her was well put together. And she was just, I don't think we talked much about the future. We enjoyed the here and now and going to the beach a lot and just hanging out with our friends.
Yeah, as teenagers do. I mean, that's what they do.
Did she have any boyfriends?
No, not that I was aware of. I mean, she'd see a cute boy and say, oh, he's cute. Oh, I'd like to know him or whatever. But no, I don't. I think at one point her and my brother had an interest for each other, but I can't swear to that.
No. Okay.
He still struggles with it also. He
I'm
goes
sure.
to the bus bench. He lives down there and it's close to where he works. So when this all came out again, he took his lunch and sat there. The bus bench is gone now. There's a gas station or some kind of little parking lot right behind it. He went and sat there a couple of days and had his lunch.
It's great that you guys still honor her the way you do in her memory.
Yeah.
She was an amazing person. She was someone I'll never forget. I got a tattoo for her.
What do you think she would eventually have done had this horrible thing then ever happened to her?
I could see her as an artist, just a free soul, happy, just creative. That's the way I would envision her. Just happy to be around people.
How old was she when she was murdered, Laura?
She was 15.
15.
15, yeah.
Child. That's the thing people forget. These are children.
Children. And in the most horrific manner.
Oh, it's just heartbreaking, all of it. I'm so sorry for you, Kitty, and all of the victims and their families. It's really just a horrific experience.
It's tough. It was something really tough to go through, but every day I'm blessed that I knew her.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's really nice to say. And for such a short period of time, it's amazing what an impact a person can make in your life.
Absolutely. And all the people that I still know from that area, we still talk about her.
What do you guys talk about?
Just, things we did, and Jackie was there, and just how happy she always was. And she made people feel good about themselves. Just being around her was just a positive thing. Young girls can be hard on each other and hard on themselves, and she was always a bright light.
So, Laura, did they give you any insight into why they did something like this? I mean, and that's a big question, but for this specific case, was there any information that helped you maybe understand so we can stop these things from happening? I mean, that's really what the key to all of this is, isn't it?
Right. Jackie was their favorite victim, according to both of them.
Why is that?
I think they said she was the most physically attractive. She kind of went along with a lot of what they were doing. She was, the details of this one is just horrific.
Well, you don't have to
get into the details.
No.
Yeah, we don't want to upset Kitty.
She was very strong. I'll say this. She was very strong for Leah. Very strong for Leah.
So she fought. Did she fight?
She protected Leah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of goes in concert with what Kitty was saying about her personality.
What bothers me is that they were able to get that stupid van was like an obstacle course to get out of it. And they were able to open that door, even with the lock that they had on there. And people outside saw what was going on. That's the most disturbing part, is like, here are all these witnesses. Had that happened with them before, where people had seen Bittaker and Norris with the van, with girls in the van, and nobody did anything?
No, this was the first one, because that door, Leah was an honor roll student, and he had that door, like, he had fixed the lock so it could only open from the outside. There was only one way to open it from the inside, where you had to like go up in the lock, and somehow, Leah knew how to do it, or figured it out, and was able to open it. So she was the only one that was ever able to even open the door, and she was able to get out. She's just a smart girl. And I've talked to a couple people on the tennis court, and they remember hearing the quick scream and then just tires screeching. It was like, it almost happened like a blink of an eye. They said it happened so fast.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that from the detectives.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the van for a second. They designed the van so it can only open from the outside. So when they threw them in the back of the van, are they tying them up? Or are they holding them? Is Norris holding them down? Or are they just kind of free-flowing in there, knowing that they can't get out? Like it's a cage.
They're hogtied.
Ugh,
Okay.
God, that's horrible.
So when she broke out of the van, was she hogtied at that point?
No, this was just the initial attack. So he had hit her on the head and she just went down. He thought she was unconscious for like a while, but she regained it quickly. And he was trying Jackie under control. And it was during this, he was still focused on, getting Jackie tied up, that he didn't see that Leah had jumped up and gone to the door.
Was Jackie athletic? Was she fighting back? I mean, was she able to defend herself for a few minutes or a little bit?
Yeah.
She was really tiny, though. She wore a 00 pant.
Yeah, she was like 90 pounds soaking wet, Jackie. Really tiny.
So Kitty, when you heard from Laura, what did you think?
I was angry. I was at work, and I got a message from her on Messenger. I was angry, not happy at all. And I didn't understand why she was reaching out to me, why she wanted to bring it up, why she wanted to open up a can of worms, that I felt I had to rest. And talking to her and finally putting my guard down and talking to her some more, it kind of made me deal with it again.
Do you think that was meant to be that way?
I think so. I think it made me realize why I don't go places by myself. I won't walk from my house a mile down the road because there's not enough people. I can go to populated areas by myself, but I know there's a small lake here where I live, and I have 2 pit bulls, and I can't walk around the lake by myself because when I get to the opposite end of the lake, and it's kind of in a residential area, there's a parking area. There's always men, probably on their lunch hour, not doing anything wrong, but they're in a van. I saw a guy in a van once, or trucks, or car. It just gives me anxiety, so I can't go there anymore. So stuff like that, I don't go places by myself that are not heavily populated.
I think you got a crash course on situational awareness after what happened to Jackie.
So I had a question. I wanted to know when you decided to not be angry with Laura and how she was able to make you understand why she was doing the work she's doing.
Originally, I was angry because her message to me said something to the effect of, just kind of touched on who she was, what she was doing, and she wanted to talk to me about the Bittaker-Norris case. And just seeing those 2 names, just instant anger for me. I asked her who she was, why she was doing this, and she explained everything. It was in messages through Messenger because I was at work when I first saw it. So then I kind of researched who she was. And once I felt comfortable enough that I believed who she was, that's when I agreed to talk to her.
I know Laura, she lost her best friend. You lost your best friend. Was that a thread that kind of brought you 2 together?
Originally, I didn't know she had lost her best friend. So I think that hearing her story later, it sure put me at ease a little bit. But I think talking to her a little bit at a time, I just started to just realize that what she was doing, she wasn't doing anything malicious. I guess just having it all brought up, just when it first came about, it made me angry. But then the more I thought about it, the more it was okay. I felt good about talking about her and giving somebody else my story of Jackie.
Well, the PTSD must have been overwhelming at first to have to bring up something like this that you...
Yeah, I still talk about Jackie a lot. I work in law enforcement, so I see this kind of stuff. We've had a serial killer up here where I live, and I had to face him face to face. I didn't talk to him, but he was right there. So...
Wow.
So what do you do in law enforcement, if you mind me asking?
I work in a county jail, and I work in booking, so I book people into jail.
Wow.
I'm not an officer. I'm a civilian employee.
How long have you been working there?
Coming up on 26 years now.
Wow.
So coming face to face with a serial killer after what you went through as a child, how did that feel?
Awful. The first time I came face to face, it was through glass, but he was in an area where I had to observe him because he had to use the phone, and that's where the phone was. And I was in a control room on the other side of the glass, and there was no film on the glass, so he could see clearly through the glass. And I had my head down looking at something because I didn't want him to look at me. So I felt if I wasn't looking at him, he wouldn't see me. And then I had to look to see if he was still on the phone. And when I looked up, he was leaning on the glass, just staring at me. And I just yelled at him to sit down. And I called an officer to remove him from where he was.
Kitty, is this Rex?
Yep, Rex Krebs.
Okay. He's at San Quentin Sephora.
It's interesting, though. I believe in your life having a lot of, threads that come together by the universe to kind of help you face things or deal with things or be forced to overcome them. For you to have such a horrific experience as a teenager, to have your best friend be killed by a serial killer, that's like so far off. It's like the last thing anyone would ever think could happen to them. And then 26 years later, here you are working in law enforcement, and the universe puts a serial killer in front of you, and you actually are able to say, get that out of my face. I mean, I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it was disturbing, but I'm a pretty strong person emotionally. I'm sensitive for a lot of reasons, but in the same sense, I'm pretty strong. And at work, maybe that's what made me stronger. I don't know, but I'm told at work that I have a strong personality. When something's happening in front of me, I can deal with it without heavy emotion. And then once it's away from me, then I get emotional.
Compartmentalizing.
Yeah.
Why do you think you went into the job that you did? It's kind of interesting that you went and worked at a county jail.
Honestly, I don't know. What initially inspired me to go is my sister was a 911 dispatcher for the same department, and my brother-in-law was a senior correctional officer in that same jail. They've both since retired, but I'm still there. I think that they helped me make the decision to go there. I think that seeing Rex Krebs in there brought up a lot of things about Jackie for me, and it made me, I guess, want to see people like them put away.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
When I found out that Rex had that Bittaker had died, it was almost a joyful feeling for me that he was no longer alive. And I spoke to the girls that I grew up with that also knew Jackie, and they all felt the same way I did.
Laura, who is Rex Krebs?
He's a serial killer. He's now housed at San Quentin. Kitty made me aware of him, and I contacted him. He was stopped early, thank God, in his career, but he would have kept going. And he was targeting, just like Bittaker, young girls.
He was also a rapist before that. He had served time for rape.
What era did he perform his crimes?
In the years?
Yeah.
It was in the early 2000s, I believe. I'm not good with time that way.
I think you're right. It was the early 2000s.
So when you encountered him, what year was it when you encountered him?
I'm not exactly sure.
Was it like just after that, early 2000s? Was he?
Yeah, something like that.
So it's Jackie's still pretty much fresh in your brain, although she's always fresh in your brain, but really still fresh.
She's always fresh in my brain.
Yeah, but it is interesting that the universe kind of forced you to look at someone similar and then being in a position that you were in.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
No.
I mean, I've met a few serial killers because I do true crime documentaries. Mm-hmm. But the fact that someone like yourself who had a friend who was killed by a serial killer and then was also put in front of another serial killer, that's a really kind of unique experience.
It's a different feeling you have too. It's not like any other feeling I've ever felt. I mean, I don't know if it was pure hatred or what I felt. I can't even describe the feeling when I saw him and he looked in my eyes. Rex Krebs did. I can't even describe the feeling that I had. It was sort of a rage, hate. I don't know. I kept it together. I yelled at him to sit down because if he went and sat down on one of the stools, he wouldn't be like staring that closely into my face. And I got on the phone and called an officer to come and get him, just to get him out of my face. I couldn't look at him. It was the weirdest feeling. It's hard to describe.
You're looking at the devil when you're seeing these guys.
Pretty much. Exactly. I've never seen such evil.
Yeah. I've had that experience. I've done a lot of...
And Rex Krebs had a girlfriend that was pregnant at the time.
Wow.
It is pure evil. But I also feel like the universe was giving you that experience in order for you to feel strong and to be able to overcome that because you had it at such a young age. This horrible thing that had happened to you that was probably...
I feel now looking back at that I probably was, I can't say prepared for it, but I knew how to deal with it.
Right. Laura, from your discussions with Kitty, how did that help your research? How did it help your process with the work that you're doing?
It adds, if I'm going to be honest, it puts more anger in me towards them, when I'm hearing from the friends and the family. So it's harder to compartmentalize, but it also, just like when I lost my best friend, Nicole, it also, for me, it's like turning that pain into power becomes an even driving force behind it, motivates me even more. To get these answers, to get this research, to get the locations for the victims. I'm fighting for a whole lot more than just the victims that were taken.
Yeah, the people left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just talk about with Kitty. So you have Kitty with Jackie. You have Jackie's family. You have Kitty. You have all your friends. I mean, how many friends the ones you talk about that you keep in contact with that you guys still talk about Jackie?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. Like how many people in your
There's so
your
many
orbit?
people affected by this.
In my apartment complex where I was living next to hers, there was 5 or 6 of us, and we're all still friends today. And we meet up. I make sure that I set up like an informal gathering of school friends that we all went to school with, probably every couple of years, and we all meet down in LA. And Jackie's name comes up quite often. We talk about her, and because those were the times that we all spent all together. So when we're together now, those are the times we talk about. And Jackie's always included in all of that.
Yeah, so you have all those lives.
It's almost 50 years ago. And
yeah,
that's how much she had an impact on your life. And that's the thing that's so heartbreaking about all of this, is that these evil people do these horrific things, and the ripple effect, it's endless. There's so many people that are affected, and it goes on and on and on.
It is. It's like a butterfly effect with homicide, and people don't realize ripple and how far it extends and how long it lasts just from one homicide occurring.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm friends with Tracy Whitney.
And what's interesting about Tracy is she lived next door to Bittaker. She was in the Toolbox Killer show as well. And she was pregnant. And she actually heard the Jackie Gilliam tape. And then a couple years afterwards, she met Kitty. And you guys became friends.
Yeah, it was about a year or two later we met, and we're still friends today too. But
Yeah.
she can't hardly talk about it now. She breaks down. She gets a lot of anxiety about it. But she was much closer to Bittaker.
In what way?
She lived next to him.
She lived
They were
next door to
friends.
him.
Oh, so she had a relationship with him, like a friendship?
Yeah, they were friends.
She lived right at the Scott Motel. She was in room 10. He was in room 11. When she became pregnant, Bittaker like bought her clothes and stuff like that, and gave her rides.
That's
But
the most disturbing
That's the
part
bizarre thing.
of all
Yeah.
of these stories, is that these people have the ability to weave in and out of daily life without anyone feeling anything or anyone really suspicious of them, or they have, it's almost like they're chameleons and they can just turn into something else and they're just not human.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah, it's very paradoxical where he can kind of shift from being a brutal killer, unmerciful, and then he's thinking about someone else's baby and he's buying stuff for the woman who's pregnant.
He also pulled a gun on her and told her the only reason she was alive was because she was pregnant.
And Laura, you said that when you were pregnant.
Tracy told me that.
When you were pregnant, that was the only time that Bittaker switched gears and wanted to speak to you.
It's very interesting because it was Tracy and another girl, Christina, were also pregnant at the motel, and reportedly the only ones he was like really nice to and helping out and buying clothes and stuff. And then I was pregnant, and yeah, I've always thought about that.
Why do you think that is?
Did he ever say anything about it?
No, I wish I had explored it more with him. Now, looking back, I didn't think of, when I was pregnant, I didn't know about Tracy or Christina until I got the discovery. But I definitely think it's to do with his bio mom. His bio mom was a young single mom, a teenage mom. And I think he saw them, struggling, and as young women and me, and when I was in my situation. And I think he didn't want the child to go through what he went through, because he always thought, if he had a better life, or if his mother, he had always said if his mother had kept him, he would have never become a monster.
So would that suggest that he had any shroud or shred of empathy?
Yeah, I think there was something about wanting to protect the innocence of a baby, but it's very paradoxical when he's killing teenagers who are pretty much babies too. So it's the way his inner workings are. It's that he's picking and choosing what he deems is pure or unpure.
So that's not true empathy.
It sounds to me like he felt they needed him. The other girls he killed didn't need him.
That's an
He
interesting.
offered his help. He offered to take care of Tracy. He offered to buy her maternity clothes. He took her food shopping when she needed to go somewhere. He always gave her a ride. He took her down to the beach if she wanted to go to the beach. She needed him. Her mom wouldn't allow her to come back home, and she had nobody else.
Oh my God, how tragic for her. When he pulled a gun on her, what precipitated that?
She didn't go into too much detail. Like I said, she still has a lot of anxiety, and Tracy's in her early 60s now. She struggles talking about it. She breaks down. She has a lot of PTSD over it. She said they were in the van one day and he pulled a gun on her and told her the only reason she was alive was because she was pregnant.
Oh my God.
And she broke down. So I didn't push.
Well, sure, because if she thought he was truly helping her and she didn't have anyone, that is just...
She needed him.
She did.
She needed him.
She did need him.
I think going back to what Laura was saying is this paradoxical moral quandary that he constantly, in this value system that he had, this checklist of morality is like, oh, well, I can't kill a pregnant woman, and, because that's too innocent, but I can kill a young girl. So it was just so weird how he could switch that on and off. But as we know, with most serial killers, they were able to do that. They were able to kind of decide,
Right.
almost playing God in a way.
Laura, didn't you say that they had a plan to kill a girl from every teen year? 13, 14, 15, 16?
That was reported, but it was really more of a joke. They had a plan of like 11, 12, like all the ages. But it was said more as a joke, because I always remind people, Bittaker and Norris, these were hunters, these were vicious predators.
Mm-hmm.
They saw a girl of opportunity. They're not pulling over to go, hey, what's your age? Oh, she doesn't
Right.
make the check mark, Yeah, so it was more in jest, but yeah, they were planning on killing teenagers. Yeah, but they were going to take whatever they could get, any victims of opportunity.
I didn't know that this all happened when I was living down in LA. I found out through, I think it was you, Laura, that these two guys actually met at a prison here where I live now.
Yeah, and you
Prison
live
is actually across the street from where I work.
both, right? Because you have CMC and you have a Tuscadero there, right?
Atascadero is a state hospital. It's about a mile from my house. I
Yeah.
live about a half an hour, 20 to 30 minutes north from where I work. So where I work, I have to pass the prison every day. So finding out that Bittaker and Norris had actually met at that prison that I work across the street from was it kind of bothered me that I never knew, I didn't know that before I moved up here.
A lot of coincidences.
Lots of parallels.
Yes.
To me, it's just shocking that these, and it always, and I go back to this over and over again. So these two people are sitting there, they meet each other, and they come up with this plan. This is the plan. Let's go and find young girls and torture them.
And it wasn't just Whitaker and Norris, which is the scariest part.
Exactly.
They had, like, a whole crew just talking about this day in and day out at the prison.
Is that also the place where they met Joe Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a Tuscadero is where Norris and Jackson met, and then they were released, and then they went to, both of them ended up back at CMC where she's talking about, and that's where Bittaker met Joe and Norris.
So they were put into a Tuscadero because they had mental issues? Because that's a state. Was it a state hospital back then?
No,
Yes.
they were serial rapists, and they were aimed at sexual offenders.
Got it.
They were put into the Tuscadero.
And that's the thing. Serial rapists, they don't stop. So we need to change public policy on serial rapists because they're not going to come out and suddenly be okay. It's only going to get worse. In every study that we've
Atascadero State. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They were at Atascadero State Hospital for being sexually violent predators.
Yeah.
Now they're housed in Coalinga. They have a hospital specifically for sexually violent predators.
Yeah, that was a big problem because I actually went up there in the late 90s. We were scouting to do a documentary on state mental hospitals. And so I toured Tuscadero State Mental Hospital. And it was probably one of the scary. I've been to a lot of prisons all over the country. That was the scariest one.
That's they don't call them patients anymore.
Yeah.
They're individuals. They're treated very well there. I did go there for a job interview before I got my job, and I couldn't work there.
Yeah, but when they had, at the time, that was the big thing. There was a problem because they were like, why you have SVPs with these mentally ill people? And that was a big problem. So what year did they actually separate that and move them to Coalinga?
Oh, it's been quite a few years now. They opened up a hospital over there specifically for sexually violent predators.
And that's the thing that as a society we need to focus on. When a person is a sexual violent predator, they need to be taken out of society. They can't.
There's no rehab.
Exactly.
Because the ones that I spoke to, that I pre-interviewed up there, they even told me, they said, listen, I've been chemically castrated. I have so much medication. I have no libido. But if someone let me out tomorrow, I would go find a young child and I would rape and kill them because it's all inside their brain.
And Laura, from your work with all of this, is there anything that can be done for these people to...
I know Dr. White, he does the medical castration, and he's very pro for it. I think it can be good or bad because, there's a lot of reports. You take away that libido and now you have rage inside that person and they become way more dangerous and they're more likely to even commit an act of violence.
Well, because the one thing that they all have in common with the serial killers, which are predominantly male, is the drug testosterone.
Right.
Well, the hormone testosterone.
Yes, the hormone.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Like you said, we don't have anything foolproof for the sexual criminals and on rehabilitation.
So, Kitty, it's so interesting that you went into the vocation that you did and worked at these institutions and that you're exposed to these criminals on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
I just find that fascinating.
I don't know if it made me stronger or if it was my satisfaction watching justice take course. I've only come across one. I've seen a lot of people who've killed other people now, but just Rex Krebs was the only one that was a predator who killed multiple girls. And they were both college students in San Luis.
Yeah. Well, it's a crazy, crazy, crazy business, and it's a crazy world out there. And I just, from your standpoint and what you've had to endure as a young person, and you're not the only one we've spoken to.
I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
I know. It's a horrible thing. And how have you been able to get through this? Have you had to? Have you gone through any additional help to kind of get you through this, or have you just kind of dealt with this on your own?
I dealt with it on my own and my family. And I have a daughter who I was very overprotective with, as were my friends before. I mean, after all this happened, my friends and I were very protective over each other. Nobody was left alone. Nobody would go anywhere alone. We'd always try to stay in groups when we did anything. And then when I moved away and had my daughter, I was very overprotective. My sister used to always tell me how I babied her so much. And I don't know if it was just that was because of that, or if I was just an overprotective mom. I don't know.
Absolutely.
But either way, she turned out great. She's 38 now and has a daughter of her own, so it just makes me even more protective now.
Does she understand why you were so overprotective?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good.
I talked to her about Jackie. She knows everything that happened. I've never been quiet about it. When she was small, obviously, I didn't talk to her about it. But as she grew up and became an adult, when Laura contacted me, I talked to my daughter about it. We had long conversations. My whole family knows exactly how I feel.
Well, that's good. I think that's part of how you've kind of overcome all this, because you have a strong family support system and you're able to share your experience and how you're feeling about this. I think a lot of the time, a lot of these victims' families, they don't have anybody to talk to.
Right.
And they just...
Or some people don't know how to talk about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My mom always instilled in me, when you have something on your mind, you need to talk about it so it doesn't fester. And so when all this happened, my mom used to sit down and have long conversations with me. My mom loved Jackie. She loved all of my friends. My house was like the hub. All my friends would come to my house, and my mom was a mom to all of them. If my friends had a problem and they couldn't go to their mom, they would go to my mom, and I wouldn't even be there. They would go talk to my mom. And then my mom made it easier for them. She'd bridge the gap between them and their mothers. So my mom made my life easy and was always there. I could talk to her about anything. So I didn't have to keep anything inside.
Well, you're lucky to have that mom. We had a mom like that in my neighborhood because it was my best friend's mom, and she was the same way. She was like, you could talk shit with her. You could tell her exactly what you say, well, we're going to do this. And she's like, why would you want to do that? She wouldn't admonish us for it, but she'd coach us through it. So you're very lucky to have a mother like that.
I absolutely was. Absolutely. She was like that with me till the day she passed. And I was blessed. Even when, like I said earlier, we used to cruise a popular area down in LA, and my mom would go with us sometimes just because she wanted to know where we were, what we were doing. And then she'd be happy with, you guys aren't doing anything wrong, so I'm going home.
And I think that's a good message for our audience and listeners too, because I think this stuff is still happening. It's happening at different rates, but there's still... I always like to state this statistic, and because I'm always flabbergasted. But yearly, there's 600,000 people missing a year, and they only recover like 1,500 to 2,000. So there's a lot of missing people out there, and people need to understand that when you go into these situations in public, and especially young women. I mean, it's like I have a young daughter too. She's 20 years old, and she always gets in my grill because I'm like, where are you going? You going hiking? Who are you going with? Are you taking your phone? Is your locator on your phone? Or this, that, and the other thing? And she just kind of brushes me off, and I go, you don't understand what I know.
Yeah. They don't get
exactly
what we've seen and what we've...
You're 20 years old. You have no life experience. You've never lived outside the town you lived in. And there's a lot of bad people out there. And just because you're going hiking on a hiking path, that's where it can happen there. It can happen in a mall. It's happening.
Absolutely.
So you have to have eyes in the back of your head, and you have to put yourself in positions where you can defend yourself and don't put yourself in vulnerable positions. And I think a lot of young people don't understand that. And especially in this world today.
Yeah.
It's not getting any better.
No, and I've tried to instill in her and in my stepson that trusting your gut is the most important thing. So if something feels wrong, don't go there. Get away from that person, because we have that instinct. You have to trust it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, my daughter doesn't go hiking. Thank God.
I'm sure she would not.
Even my husband, there's a lot of hiking areas here, and they're popular. But my husband has asked me, don't go. Don't go by yourself.
Nope.
Oh, no. I'm not even allowed to go to the mall by myself.
He bought me mace, and I have walking sticks so that I could, if I had to use them, I could. But I just choose not to push it. I'm not comfortable with it. It gives me anxiety, so I only go if he goes with me.
Absolutely. You should always go in numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always go in numbers. Always have someone who can watch your six and make sure that they can get out of a situation if it's bad.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good. Well, listen, Kitty, we really appreciate you sharing your story and commemorating Jackie's memory, as we always do with all our victims. And, because it's important. It's important to keep these, because she's stuck in time. She's a 15-year-old forever. And,
Absolutely.
And
I just want to interject, and I just wanted to talk about the dragonfly 1 second.
Sure.
Yeah, because Kitty has a friend, and he's an incredible musician, and he wrote a song dedicated to the girls. Maybe we could even play it at the end of this.
Absolutely.
And he had asked us, I forget, like some questions about for some lyrics. And Nicole had given me a dragonfly necklace right before she died. And I had looked it up, and it said, they're only meant to come into your life for a short period and touch your heart, inspire you to live life to the fullest. So I always said, like, Nicole is my dragonfly. And I always said to Kitty, Jackie's your dragonfly. And we both have dragonfly tattoos, and it's a lyric in the song, and you hear it, but it's a very beautiful, beautiful tribute to the girls. And
He asked me if he could write the song, and I said yeah. And I asked him if he would make sure to mention Dragonfly.
Well, it's a wonderful, wonderful memorial. And yes, we will play, if he allows us, we'll play his song right at the end of this podcast.
it's a really touching, beautiful song.
Yeah, he asked if you guys played it, if you would just mention his name. Is Tyler
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, do you want to announce him so you can be the one?
Yeah, tell us what his name is, and tell us a little bit about him.
And why he decided to write the song.
Oh, his name is Tyler Bundy. I was working with him. He was also a correctional technician for a while. He has since quit and moved on, but he had heard the story, and he asked me if he could write a song, and I asked him if he would make sure to mention Dragonfly Tattoos. And he's in a band called O'Donovan, and he plays or was playing in local venues around here. But he was happy to do it, and all he asked for was for his name to be mentioned, that he did this for us.
Absolutely.
And what's the name of the song? Kitty.
All right, one more time.
Kitty, you tell us what it is, since it was your friend.
Say his name and the name of the song.
His name is Tyler Bundy, and the name of the song is Angel Wings.
Fantastic. We're going to play Angel Wings right as soon as we get off the phone call for you. So once again, thank you so much for your time. God bless you for keeping her name out there and her memory out there. And we'll talk to you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, Kitty.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
When it feels like I'm drowning, I love the way you lift me up above the waves. When it feels like I'm breaking, I need your strength, no matter how bad it aches. 'Cause you never break, and I see you in dragonfly tattoos. No matter what I go through, you're always right there. And I feel your love raining down from above, like everything I dream of. You stop the nightmares. No, you ain't too far, I still see who you are. With every sunset and past every shooting star. When that wind rolls in, I feel you again. Wrap all around me, I pray that it never ends. Darker the night, brighter your light. Make sweet like bees and fight like fireflies. The devil still tries, but you cut the ties and strings when you put on your angel wings. Bright like a candle, you show me the way. Yeah, times always change, but your light stays the same. In a world so jaded, I need your grace. 'Cause hate's in the race, but I can't take your place. Watching, holding my heart, best friend right now. Back then you're always here. Good times, bad days, your love still stays. Can't count up the ways you helped me conquer my fears. Oh, no, you ain't too far, I still see who you are. With every sunset and past every shooting star. When that wind rolls in, I feel you again. Wrap all around me, darker the night, brighter your light. Make sweet like bees and fight like fireflies. The devil still tries, but you cut the ties and strings when you put on your angel wings. And I still see you in dragonfly, the tattoos, no matter what I go through, you're always right here. No, you ain't too far, I still see who you are, with every sunset and past every shooting star. When that wind rolls in, I feel you again, wrap all around me. I pray that it never ends. Darker the night, brighter your light. Make sweet like bees and fight like fireflies. The devil still tries, but you cut the ties and strings when you put on your angel wings.
Please visit our website where you can subscribe to the podcast, find show notes, and check out extra content from all of our podcasts. All rights reserved. This has been a production of 722 Media Content.